Hey everybody, it's Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at the PlayStation Theater, and today we are here with Sharon of Within Temptation.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's great to be here, and already not even 2 seconds and people are walking in.
Yeah, exactly. It's a chaos here.
Yeah, yeah. But your new album, Resist, is absolutely beautiful. What I was curious is, does Within Temptation, because I could tell as somebody who listens to you, what's off Mother Earth, what's off the heart of everything, so it's fair to say Within Temptation takes a new approach to every album, right?
We try to. We don't always succeed as much as we want to sometimes, but this album we definitely did a total change, I think.
Yeah.
Well, total change. Still, you have elements of Within Station in there that we had before, of course, because you never can change 100%. But it's more like we did use a lot of new elements in there that we never had before. Where in the past there were more or less always the same kind of elements, but you had different. We emphasized different things more at certain things. How do I explain this in the right way? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, but this time we had different elements that we had never used before. That we had some urban influences, and that was something that's totally new for us.
Yeah. Now, I've always been a fan of your lyrics just as much as your voice, like in songs like The Final Destination and Memories and stuff. So, what I was curious is, do you sometimes need to hear music to come up with lyrics, or do you sometimes have lyrics or a concept in mind and maybe the rest of the band writes according to that?
No, it's more for me that. Well, I just start singing. That's basically how it happens. I'm just playing piano or guitar, and then I just start singing, and immediately I have a certain emotion to the music, and then lyrics come afterwards. And sometimes I think a lot of things are in your mind subconsciously, and I think these things always come up when I'm writing, and then afterwards I try to make a lyric out of it, and sometimes I have a subject up front, but a lot of times I don't, and then I do it afterwards. But a lot of basic words that are important for the eventual song are already in there. So it's like, which is necessary because it's very hard to change everything at the end. But first I write the melodies, and then the lyrics come. That's how it works for me mostly.
Awesome. Now, you've collaborated with a lot of different vocalists, like collaborating with Tarja,
Yeah.
who comes from a similar style. But you've also collaborated with Mina Caputo from Life of Agony, Howard Jones, Jacoby on the latest record.
Exhibits.
Yep. So, with working with different artists, does that allow you to maybe expand on your vocal style at all, or does it teach you new things?
Well, why I asked them is because they add a color that I can't, or they have something specific that we need for the song. And we always look at the song like, okay, what do we need if we're going to do it duet, and what kind of ambience or what kind of what kind of color can we use for this song? And then you ask certain people who can do that. And so it was with Tarja was more the only exception. I think with Tarja was more because people always saw us like, how do you say it? Like that we had some kind of competition going on, which it never was. So we felt like, let's have this kind of. This song was about and the lyrics are about paradise, like in that. So it's like showing other people's like there's no competition between us. We just, we never actually met before we recorded the song actually. So it was like, of course, we knew each other by name and we knew the band, of course, and the music, but we never actually really met and had a nice conversation with each other. So that was the only exception. But for instance, Exhibit, that's of course a different world than where we're coming from. I can never do what he does, and so yeah, I learned from him a lot actually. Yeah.
And I'd imagine that, like the rest of the band, that allows the band to experiment with their sounds and their styles as well.
Of course,
right?
yeah. Everybody does their own solos and everything. They have their own interpretation of things. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, one thing I was always curious about, because coming from the Netherlands, it's such a, Epica coming from there and Sisters of Suffocation, so many great bands. So was there a scene that Within Temptation kind of started in, or were you a band that kind of had to go outside the Netherlands to get your name out there?
No, I think our first steps were made actually in the Netherlands, but it was more like we came from, there was a band before Within Station called The Circle. And Robert and Martijn Spierenburg, the keyboard player, they started that band. and they kicked out Robert eventually. And he and I started With Temptation. But before With Temptation, there was already a band doing the same kind of thing. And Robert was coming from the death metal scene. That's what he liked. And so it was really, at that time that he came from that, it was the heaviest of heaviest kind of music that he listened to. And you saw a lot of bands starting to experiment with a lot of melody and stuff. And so he wanted to have the growling voices in the music. And they had this singer, a very young girl who sang one of the first songs on the album. And Martijn was more of the clarinet and Dead Can Dance kind of lover of music. So they had a combination that they already set like a style at the time. And when Robert left the band, we started With Temptation together. And well, the circle just died after that a little bit, unfortunately. But but we started With Temptation, and so we came from different. Everybody came from a different world because at the time the death metal scene was really big, but he really liked Marillion, and Iron Maiden kind of music. So he had a lot of things on that corner. He had Martijn, who was really more the Celtic and the orchestral kind of things that he liked doing. But he was not in the band until Mother Earth. No, after Mother Earth he came. Yeah, he came after Mother Earth. So when we wrote Mother Earth, Martijn Spierenburg came back to the band. We asked him back again, and But and for me it's the same thing. I also liked always the clarinet kind of thing. I never was into the death metal kind of music.
Really?
No, I was a grunge girl actually. Okay. So I've always liked that kind of music. So and Black Sabbath, because that's what I grew up with. My parents loved that, and I'm just always I just love music in general. It doesn't have to be a certain genre, but I must say my heart and soul is in metal and rock music. I like that best.
That's really funny that you say that, because I know there's a lot of like I don't know so much about Simone Simmons, but Tarja, for example, and a lot of artists from the symphonic realm of metal, like they're very classically trained. And I thought when the first album I heard was The Heart of Everything, and I was like, wow, you could sing like in Broadway or like an opera. So I was wondering how you guys kind of combine like a classical opera sound with metal.
Yeah, well, actually, I don't have any education at all in music, but I'm probably one of the few in the band, because the guys, they all did a special school for music. And but how we combine this is, I think, just putting people together with different backgrounds. I think what they listen to music-wise, I think.
Yeah.
Should we do that again?
No, it's fine. It makes it natural.
Okay. Well, it's more like, like I said before, like Robert coming from the metal scene and also having the symphonic things that he liked. Jeroen also liked Yes, for instance, and so a lot of symphonic rock stuff he liked. So if you put all these people together, how we started, everybody had different backgrounds on what they were listening to, and if you put it in a melting pot, you get With Temptation. But of course, it's certain things get emphasized and certain things don't get emphasized. But that's where we're coming from. We're coming from that kind of background.
And it's noticed in your catalog too, because I think every album really stands out in its own
way. Yeah.
And the final question I'd like to ask you is Resist, because I really thought that this album actually had a lot of elements. I saw elements of Hydra on there, and stuff from Mother Earth on there, and so on. So was this record kind of meant to be like kind of combining everything you kind of done previously?
No, actually it doesn't. But I think you always take your past with you. Everything you've done, it will come more or less. You can't let that go. That's who you are, of course. But we tried very much to bring something new, actually, to our songwriting, and that's getting. We were very much influenced by a lot of urban stuff, actually, but so that makes this typical this album more. A little bit of a groovy album, which we have never been before. We've never been a groovy band, and we love to be groovy, but we never were. And it's the first album I can really say, like, we have got a few groovy songs on. And so, but of course, you always combine what you are, of course. It's nice to take things outside of your scene and implement that in your music, but you'll always be With Temptation. That's who you are, that's in your genes, that's what you write. But you always it's nice to have new influences to spice things up and to yeah.
I've noticed many different vibes too on the album. Like there were songs that like I consider like almost like Queen level of victory anthems, and then there were songs that were very emotional and melancholy. Do you feel different emotions depending on like the songs that you've written and played?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, every song has a different meaning, of course, and it's. I think the whole palette comes. It passes on this album. It has goes from left to right, but it's still there's a red line in the production. So that's the basic thing I think which is important.
It's open to interpretation, or you're trying to convey a certain message.
Well, you know, we were inspired, of course, in a certain way about certain things. We just think we're living in a very crazy world, a mad world, actually, and no, in certain ways, of course. But it's like and that inspired us to write about. You know, it's like politically, but also sometimes in a more personal way. So it has some personal songs on and some political kind of things on there. Yeah.
Yeah, I always said it was like, from listening to the lyrics, it was like using an external conflict to describe an internal conflict. That's what I said in the review.
Well, that's very beautiful. Like what he said.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time.
You're
It's
most
going to be a
welcome.
great show tonight. Is there just anything else within Temptation we could be expecting on this brand new record cycle?
Well, let me think. Well, we just released a lot of our older albums on the vinyl finally, so maybe that's something that people don't know, and it's nice to know. But from the new album, we're gonna do a lot of festivals, so we're gonna be touring a lot still, and maybe also next year, maybe take some time off in the after the summer, and start writing again. We want to write a new album very quickly because we feel like we want to, and maybe just go in January next year to other countries outside of Europe again. Don't know where yet, so yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Welcome.
Sharon,
Thank you very
thank you
much.
so much. Everybody, Sharon of Within Temptation. Pick up Resist if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.